All right, thank you, Melody. I think so, yeah. All right, and so if we can have the panelists that are in person come up and sit over there and have a microphone. Yeah, so I've been given permission to go a little bit over time, so bear with me. And they were all great talks. I didn't want to like cut anyone off. They were incredible. So we've got a little bit of time here. So I also wanted to mention too that the I had some prepared questions, but I think for the most part for the next Q&A portion, we're gonna base everything off of the Slido questions that have come through. So, and there are a significant amount. So I will get through as many as I possibly can. But please upvote the questions that you would like to see answered. Please use I think it's maybe like a thumbs up or an upvote symbol of some kind on the Slido app, so that we can get the most wanted questions answered. So I will, I'll kind of go through that now and see. So we will see here. Okay, so the first question here is for Melody. So what is the power requirement? What is the power requirement and what's the sustainable power source?
For what?
I think for the 3D printing system is my assumption based on the question.
On the moon.
The moon.
We're hoping to, well, for the first technology demonstration, we'll likely be using batteries, but eventually we would like to integrate with other infrastructure like solar fields, solar arrays, and other multiple redundant power sources that others can also leverage on the surface of the moon.
All right, thank you. All right, and then for Ryan, what is the expected mode of failure for Viper once it does a cold soak?
Yeah, so when we experience shadow that will deplete our battery, basically, yeah, I'm gonna speculate, I guess, on what would go first. I mean, electronics, the solar arrays will probably get coldest quicker, so they'll probably break. But yeah, a lot of the components are qualified, especially the solar arrays, since they're external to really low temperatures, more than any other spaceflight program has done, maybe. But yeah, it's going to get real cold, and when we run out of batteries, everything will get lower than their qualified temperatures.
All righty, and then the next one is for Clive, if you're still there online. So what is needed exactly to get this this prospecting mission, this campaign underway?
What is needed is cooperation. We've got Viper, which is a mission, and I asked Thomas Sabukin, how many Vipers are you going to build? And he said 1. I said, well, let's start. So we need more Vipers, number 1, but we also need international cooperation, because international cooperation has shown through history to develop an enduring space program. If you take Apollo, done in spirit of competition, this is why this year is the 50th anniversary of the last time humans walked on the moon, just less than 4 years after the first ones walked on the moon. And it was done in competition. You look at the space station, done in cooperation, 20+ years and counting. So I think cooperation is important. It has to be international in scope. So developing that cooperation, and this is why the Artemis Accords are a great start, because we need to know what's there, and we need to get data, so that will inform multiple stakeholders, not least of which are the commercial entities that are going to need to know what resources are available. I imagine 3D printing lunar regolith on the lunar surface is going to be a little different than doing it in a lab on this planet with terrestrial simulants. So we need a proof of concept 3D printer on the moon. No pressure, by the way. So.
Alrighty, and then next one is for Melody. So for the 3D printed homes, do you build the foundation separately and then 3D print the walls?
Can you hear me? Oh. We've been able to 3D print formwork for foundations. We don't frequently do that, but it is a capability that we have. And yes, the foundations are always built in advance of the Vulcan being mobilized and also the walls being constructed.
Okay, and then a follow-up, how is wiring and piping handled in the 3D printed walls?
Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is handled strategically. We try to leverage building information modeling as much as we can within our design build processes so that we have smart and innovative ways of integrating MEP, as we call it in the AEC industry. Too many acronyms, sorry.
Alrighty, and then back to Ryan. So how many drilled samples can be collected?
Yeah, so we don't collect samples. We deposit subsurface material onto the surface, and so we do it in bites, so about 10 centimeters at a time. So we go down 10 centimeters, pull it up, evaluate that 20, 30 down to a meter. So we're evaluating, each depth and seeing the concentration, seeing what's in it. We plan to drill, I believe, 3 times in each science station. It depends on a traverse, how many, but I think it'll get up to maybe 50 holes over the course of the whole mission. But again, it's always a question of statistics in terms of, how many holes you can do in statistics that you get. But again, correlating it with the data that we get as we move around constantly, we'll be able to maybe understand over all the traversed area, what's under the ground. So that's the plan, of kind of using both data sets.
Alrighty, then back to Melody. So how does construction cost compare between icon printing of walls to traditional construction methods?
So the real value add that we try to lean into with additive manufacturing as it relates to production home building is the fact that we can build more economically and faster and using fewer trades and less labor than building with traditional steel or concrete or wood frame construction. So the real advantage comes when we're building at scale, at a production scale, and not necessarily on a one-to-one basis. Currently, we are only printing vertical walls as part of our residential sort of repertoire. And in the future, once we're able to demonstrate capabilities to print a fully 3D printed enclosure that eliminates the need for additional materials as well as labor relative to roofing, also foundation sometimes, we feel the overall value add economically is going to be tremendous.
Alrighty, and then Clive alluded to this in his last answer, but I wanted to sort of ask the panel this question, so I'll kind of give you each a chance to answer. So how do you envision including international entities and partners in these prospecting and material processing missions? And Clive, if we could start with you online.
Well, I think Artemis Accords is a great way to start, but it is not going to include everybody. So trying to have cooperation with Russia and China these days is a tad fraught with pitfalls. But I think it's something where the moon can actually start to create diplomacy in an era that so desperately needs it. So I think we could start with the Artemis Accords, but we could also then reach out through maybe the LSIC, International Space Exploration Coordination Group, to actually foster that. I mean, one idea that I had, and I did pitch it to NASA, was how about a sample exchange between China and the United States? Get some Chang'e 5 samples for the scientific community over here and allow them to have access to an equivalent amount of Apollo regolith for their scientists to look at. I'm hoping that will happen, but I've not been told no, but I have been told that it's going to take a while for it to happen. So I think this is something we should, as a community, look at in innovative ways to create partnerships and allow collaboration.
All right, I think so. I think we're kind of out of time now, so I'm gonna wrap it up. However, there are tons of Slido questions. So we are going to archive them, make sure they get asked. We will reach out to the panelists to make sure we get all of your questions answered. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to send us off to the breakout rooms.